So today we're going to do the handover video on the Bailey Autograph 792F. We're going to start on the outside and then we're going to move on to the inside. So firstly, coming over to the passenger side, you have got your fill-up point. Open that up, you can see that you've got your AdBlue, which is down there, and then your diesel, which is up at the top there. Coming across, you'll then notice that you've got your bonnet release catch, which is just here on the passenger side. Pull that to release the bonnet. I'll walk you around there in a second, but just whilst I'm here, this particular model has got the Remis cab blinds. To operate this, simply pinch and pull. I typically find it's a lot easier to operate these when you lead from the bottom and connect to the side. You've got this one on this side, the same again on the other side, and then for the middle, or the front centre, you've then got the same clip, which you then need to pull along with that side. They then meet in the middle and connect through the magnetic strip, which is just on the side there. Clip them back in and do the same with this. Again, lead with the bottom and feed that in and connect it in like so. I typically find, and this is a rule of thumb with anything in a motorhome, if you do feel like you're forcing it, you are probably doing something wrong, so just bear that in mind. So if it does feel like it's being forced, you are probably doing something wrong, so just reevaluate what you're doing and then try again. Underneath the bonnet, there's not many things that you need to know underneath here. The main things that you need to know is if you're ever jump starting the vehicle. If that's the case, I'll show you where them points are. I'll just lift the bonnet now. With the bonnet lifted, I can then show you where your jumper points are. Your first one for your negative connects onto here, and then the one for your positive is just located underneath this cap. You'll notice that you've got a little plus sign on there just to indicate that this is the positive. Simply flick this cap up and connect onto there. Whilst we're underneath here, I'll just show you a couple more points. You have got your engine oil, which is here, and your dipstick, which is just below that. You've then got your brake disc fluid, your engine coolant, your power steering fluid, and then finally your washer fluid, which is just in there. Moving around to the side of the vehicle, you've then got your hookup point for your mains electric, which is into here. And then you'll notice on this particular vehicle, you have got an ALDA heating system, which is wet central heating. And you'll notice on this side, you have got the flue for that. That in essence is your chimney, and that gets very hot, so do be careful of that. Next, you've then got the Lpg Gas Locker. This is where you'll store all your gas bottles. And then across from that, you have got the whale system to fill up your freshwater tank. How this operates is you'll have your whale connector point that'll connect onto here, and that'll be connected to a hose. The hose will then connect to a tap on site. You'll turn your tap on, and that'll then feed the water into the tank. You then need to go onto the inside of the vehicle, turn your pump on, and that'll pull all the water which is going into the van into the freshwater tank, and that'll then stop once full. You can then leave that hooked up if you are on a smart site, so it will just replenish the water that you use. Moving towards the back of the vehicle, for your wastewater drain down point, that is located just underneath here. As you can see, you will notice that you've got a blue pipe up there. Don't worry about that, that is just a breather pipe. The main drain down point for your wastewater is this grey tap here. All you've got to do to open that is twist this pipe, and that will dump the wastewater. You have got three main drain down points to the vehicle. You've got the wastewater, which is on the outside of the vehicle. You've then got the fresh water, which is on the inside of the vehicle. And then finally, you've got your boiler drain down point, again, on the inside of the vehicle, which I will show you later. Whilst we're on the topic of your drain down points, what we say is you can leave all them open when you are travelling home, because what that means, all that water is going to get out of your vehicle, and at the end of the day, it is just water, so you're not going to harm anything. And it means that all the vibrations of the road will get all that water out by the time you get home. Coming along to the back, you have this storage locker here, which I'll just open for you now. Once unlocked, you can then access it. This houses your cassette toilet. For your cassette toilet, the main important thing that you need to check before removing is that the blade on the toilet is closed. If this blade is open, what will happen is you'll go to remove the cassette and it'll get jammed. What typically people do is they'll go to pull that and then therefore break and snap the cassette arm. So always make sure that the blade on the toilet is closed, it always should be, and then you can simply remove the cassette like so. Starting off with the front of the cassette, when using this, all you need to do is swivel out the funnel on the top, unscrew the cap like so, and then you just need to empty the contents out. When emptying, I'll just put the cap back on. You have a button at the end, which is just there. Press that that orange button in, and that'll release the vacuum which is concealed in the cassette. That'll mean that all the contents can flow out in one steady flow. And then you'll also notice that you have got another orange tab here. That's what makes contact with the blade, as I mentioned, when you close and open it, and closes opens the cassette. You don't need to do anything with that, leave that as it is. I've had in the past where customers will turn this like so, as you can, because it does make contact with the blade, and then they'll go to put it back in and it'll simply break it. So always make sure it's in that position. It should always be in that position when you remove it anyway, so don't touch that, so you can slide it back in. Connect that back into spot, and then lock the locker just like so. Moving on to the back, this specific model has got a bike rack which is fitted, and then you have also got your reversing camera which is just above that, located in there. Moving to the other side of the vehicle, you'll notice you've got another storage locker which will open for you now. With that open, you'll notice that you've got your access point. This is accessible underneath the bed as well. Going away from this spot, moving on, you have got your external gas point, which is here. How to operate this is turn your gas on in the vehicle, connect your pipe onto there through a bayonet fitting, turn the yellow lever, and that will feed the gas through. One thing whilst we are on the topic of gas, make sure that your gas bottles when travelling are always turned off at the bottle for safety. Next, you'll notice you've got your fridge vents. Fridge vent on this side of the vehicle. This is where the fridge will pull all of its air from and use that to cool the fridge. As you can imagine, if it's a hot day and you've got the sun beating down on this side of the vehicle, that is going to prove very difficult for the vehicle. So please just bear that in mind. So if you can, turn around the van and that'll just help it out. You can also get winter covers for these if you are storing the vehicle during winter. Before we move on to the inside, finally, you have got a socket, which is just here, which is a 230 volt socket, which you can use external to the vehicle. You'll also notice that you've got your aerial on the top there, along with your awning. The aerial will go into more detail on the inside, but your awning is a Thule awning, which just connects up at the top there. With your awning, I will send you a video with this in, but how it basically works is you have got a T on the top of the awning pole which will connect onto there. You then need to turn that halfway and drop it. That'll then lock the awning pole into position. You then need to rotate the awning pole to unwind the awning. Wind it to a point where you can actually get it to, where you can reach it, and then you've got two legs in the top of the awning which are concealed. You then need to bring them out, pull them down, and that'll allow it to take the weight of the awning. Now what we say is with the awning, if it is windy, don't use it at all, because it is, as you can imagine, a huge sail on the side of the vehicle. And of course, if it is raining, you will need to at some point get that awning out and dry it out to prevent mould and things like that. So do bear that in mind. With the outside explained, we're now going to move on to the inside. On the inside of the vehicle, you'll notice as soon as I walk in, you've got your control panel, which is directly above your habitation door. Once inside, to operate your control panel, simply click your master switch. You'll notice that as turned on the lights and activated them. Coming across the panel, you've then got your interior lights, which are there, which one main button turns them all on and all off. And then finally you've got a button underneath that which indicates another light, which is for the door light on the outside of the vehicle. Using these two arrows, you can then flick through the options for the settings. You'll notice that you've got your settings there. You've then got fill tank. As I mentioned outside, if you're wanting to fill the water tank up, you need to click this, your pump, and that'll then, as you can see, fill up the tank. You've then got your battery select, so you can select it either on leisure battery or vehicle battery. This is in regards to what the fridge and also your lights are powered off. Always keep that on leisure because you don't want that running on your vehicle battery, because you'll be left with a flat battery and you won't be able to get anywhere. You've then got your water level for your waste. You've then got, not plugged in at the moment, hence why it's showing that. You've then got your external temperature, your internal temperature, and then your leisure current. Your vehicle voltage for your leisure battery, leisure voltage there, and then back to the main point on the home screen. You'll also notice that you have got a pump button here. Your pump is what is used to pump all the water through the vehicle. When using the vehicle, you need to always click the pump on only when you've got water in the vehicle. So make sure that you've got all your water in the vehicle and loaded up. You can then click your pump. You can then come to your tap, turn them on and turn them to hot. We're now going to prime your system. For priming your system, you need to go to all your taps, including your shower and your bathroom area. As I mentioned, turn them on and turn them to hot. What that's going to do is it's going to pull water from the fresh water tank, which you've just filled up. It's going to pull it through the system, through the boiler, because we're going to do the hot water first, and then out of the tap. It's going to spurt and splutter, and then once that's running steadily, you have primed the system for your hot water. Once you've done that, on all your taps, including your shower, flick it over to cold, do the exact same. Once that spurts and splutters, and it's running steadily, you have primed your system. Once it's running steadily, a lot of people think that they need to turn off the pump because they're scared of burning it out. However, each of your taps comes fitted with a micro switch, so you only have to turn your you won't need to turn your pump off. It'll only activate the pump when you want and activate the micro switch on the tap, just like you would get at home. So don't worry about that. Moving away from the tap and into your kitchen area. You'll notice you've got your hob, which is up here. You've got 1 electric plate and then also 3 gas. For your hob as well, it's worth mentioning, you need obviously your gas on to operate. Simply pushing your knobs, hold them and then feed it through. They each come with a blowout valve as you'd get in your home. So if you do let go straight away, it will blow that flame out. So just hold it for a couple of seconds. You've then got your oven and grill below and then a bit of storage throughout the kitchen. Before moving on from the kitchen area, you will also notice that you will have some grey pipes like so, located in the vehicle. For that, they are just isolator pipes, and what I say to customers is leave them as they are. You don't want to mess around with them because that'll just isolate areas of the vehicle. They're only there for workshop technicians, so just leave them be. Coming up, you've then got your microwave and a bit more storage up at the top. And now we're going to move on to your Aldi heating system, which is just located again in your kitchen area. Your Aldi heating system, as explained outside, is a wet central heating system. To operate, simply press the button and that will turn your Aldi heating on. Let that load up. You then need to click menu and you'll notice that you've got a couple of options. So up at the top, as indicated here, is your vehicle temperature. Below that is then your water temperature, which pressing will alter the temperature like so. You've then got your option of fuel. You've got the option of electric or gas, as it's indicated there. For your electric, you've got a couple of options. You've got 1 kilowatt electric, 2 kilowatt electric or 3 kilowatt electric, depending on how much power you are supplied with on the site. Now please note that when you are running the heating system, you need to select one of these fuels, either gas or electric, and make sure that you select the right fuel. For example, if you're on site and you have no gas in the vehicle and you select the gas for it to run off, and as I say, you've got no gas, you'll simply get an error code because it's trying to power and heat the system with a fuel that it's not got. If that's the case, as I say, you will get an error code. You'll then need to go into your settings and reset the system with that button there, like so. If I click back to the menu, that'll take you back to the main controls. They're the main things that you need to know. Click that button to turn it off. As indicated, it'll just switch off like so. Moving into the lounge area, you've got 2 benches either side. along with a floor hatch here. You've got storage on this side underneath the bench, and underneath here located is your boiler system and also your RCD breaker, which I will show you in a minute. Coming to the floor, as I mentioned, you have got a hatch which can be used for storage and shoes and things like that, but you'll also notice that you have got another inner insert here. This houses your leisure batteries. You can leave that as it is, as you don't need to touch it. Everything that you need to do is located on the panel, as I've already explained. Before I show you the boiler and the RCD breaker, it's also worth noting you have got storage either side here, which are just lockers like so. You will notice that you've got a box located up here. That's for your solar panel. That's your solar panel regulator. Again, you can leave that as that is. That just regulates the power going into the leisure battery. On the other side, as I mentioned outside, you have got an aerial. To operate the aerial, how that works is it's just on a pole here. You need to unscrew this, push up the pole like so, and tighten that into position. You've then got an arm on the end of the aerial, which can be used just to tilt the head of the aerial, depending on how much signal you are getting. But always remember that you do, for your aerial to operate, need to turn on the switch up here. When it indicates blue, it indicates that it's on. So always remember to do that. And always remember, along with your windows and things like that, always remember to bring down your aerial pole like so, because you don't want that sticking up, because you could hit trees and things like that. That goes for the same for your roof lights, which are just up here, and then also your side windows. Always make sure they're all closed and all down for safety. Coming to the other side, you'll notice I've just dismantled the lounge, just so you can get to the boiler and your RCD breaker. Firstly, we're going to start with the RCD breaker. This is your trip box, and as you can see, it gives you all your trip valves there. If the van ever trips, you do need to come to this area. Now, a little tip, you'll notice that you've got a blue little switch there which says test on it. For example, if you're on site and you can't get any power to the vehicle, what you need to do is you need to come to this point here and click that test button. If all of them trip and trip down, you know that you're getting power to the vehicle, so you know therefore that there is not a power fault with the cable that you're using or with the site. There's a fault with your vehicle. From there you can then check your fuses. You'll often find that if you aren't getting any power to the vehicle, it is often the cable that you're using or a fault with the site. It may have tripped, but just to be sure and to check, you can always click that test button like so. Finally, your boiler. This is where it's located for your Aldi heating system. Looks very complicated, but it's dead simple. All you need to know is one little valve. As I mentioned outside, you've got three main drain downs: your wastewater, your fresh water, and your boiler. Your boiler drain down point is just located here. As you can see, there is a yellow tab just located behind that pipe. At the moment, in the up position as it is, like so, it is open. So that means if I was to try and prime my system, so turn it on to hot as I described before, and it would just empty out of the boiler. So to operate that when you are operational, you need to simply just flick the tab down like so, and that will then hold the water. As I say, flip it down when you're using it, and then when you are travelling off site or storing it, flip that up. Always make sure that this is up when storing the vehicle and when not using it, because if it is down rather and it's sealed in the water, you could get frozen water in the system and in your boiler, which you don't want. It's an absolute nightmare, so just do bear that in mind. Get in the habit of doing that. Every time I'd use it, I'd flick that up just to make sure. Before moving on from the lounge, I'll just show you how the bed operates. If you wanted to make this front area into a bed, you'll notice that you've got your slats here along with your sliders there. All you need to do is pull this like so. As you can see, that's just pulled out. You've got the other one on the other side, which will just flip out, and then you can turn this area into a bed. You can use your other cushion on this side to fill this space, and then you've got your double bed there, and then to simply put it away, push like so, and then assemble your lounge. Coming through back into the vehicle, we're now going to speak about your fridge and show you how to operate that. Your fridge is really simple. You've got your freezer up at the top and then your fridge below. It is a nice touch that you can actually open this from both sides. So depending on what side, you can access the fridge. The main thing with the fridge to know is it does a very good job at maintaining temperature, but not the best of job getting the vehicle down to getting the contents down to temperature. With that in mind, if you want frozen things in the freezer, put frozen things in, and the same thing with your fridge. If you want cooled things to be in the fridge, put cooled things in, and it'll just maintain that temperature. To operate the fridge, all you've got to do is click this button in, hold it until the light comes on. You'll notice that you've got your temperature gauge at the top, and through clicking once and then rotating, you can flick through the options like so. By clicking, you can then alter the temperature. Click in to activate, click again to then select. We're now on your fuel. You've got a couple of options. You'll notice that you've got your auto, you've got your battery, you've then got your gas, and then finally your leisure battery. Your 230 volt connection. So the options: if you are travelling, you'll be running the fridge off your leisure battery or your 12 volt. If you are wild camping, you'll then be running the fridge off gas. And then finally, if you're on site, you'll be running the fridge off 230 volt. Now, whilst we're on the topic, a lot of people think that they can run the fridge when they're wild camping off the 12 volt system, off the leisure battery. However, that is not the case, because if that was, you'd simply be left with no power because your fridge would drain it. So because of that, you'll get an error code. It will never let you run the fridge off your leisure battery. Do bear that in mind. If you are wild camping, you need to run it off gas. Now, the nice thing with this Dometic fridge is it comes with an auto button there. If I click that auto in, it'll select the auto, and you can see that's just going to automatically assign whatever fuel it's got to power the fridge. Click again. You've then also got some options at the bottom. It gives you your brightness of the screen and some of the settings that you can choose. To turn this off, again, hold the button in. It'll then make a sound and turn off like so. Moving into the back now, you'll notice that you've got your French bed here. You can actually, if you wanted, access this by lifting it up like so, and then you can gain access to the underneath side like so. You'll then also notice that you have got, quite difficult to see, but you have got a table that is located underneath here if you want to set that up in your lounge area. Moving on, you've then got your cupboard here for hanging space, and you will also notice this tank. This is an Aldi heating expansion tank for your heating system, and this contains glycol solution. You don't need to do anything with this, just keep an eye on this level. Obviously between the max and the min is where it wants to be. And as I say, this is just an anti-freeze solution, so if it does get very cold, solution in there isn't going to freeze. So that's all that is, your expansion tank. Coming along, you've then got a bit more storage up here in your dressing area, and obviously a point for a telly. You have also got storage up at the top along the bed, along with the curtain here that pulls across for privacy. Moving into the bathroom. In the bathroom area, you'll notice that you've got a heater point here which looks like a radiator. That's part of the Aldi heating system. You've then got your shower on this side, which we've discussed about, priming your system, along with your sink. The main thing in here that I need to demonstrate is your toilet cassette. And how this works, as I mentioned outside, is you have something called a blade. The blade on the toilet allows the cassette to open and close. At the moment, it is closed. To open that, push the blade away, and that'll open the cassette. When in use, you need to push this away, open the cassette so all the waste can drop into the cassette. You then need to come to this button here, this blue one, click that, and that's going to activate your flush. What that's going to do, it's going to flush the entire system, and then once you've done that, you then need to close the blade like so. You should always get into the habit of closing the blade. 1, because no odours will escape, and also 2, it means that when you come to remove your cassette to empty it, your blade is always closed. So you should never run into the issue of what I described earlier, of it jamming. Coming back to your pump as well, to your flush, you do need your pump on here for this to operate, so then it will then operate and activate the flush. You'll then get a red or amber light on here just to indicate when your cassette is nearly full. Once you've got that, you need to of course empty it. Above here you've got more storage again. Got an option for your light here, just a pull tab, and then below your sink, again, a bit more storage. Coming away from the bathroom area now leads me on to your final drain down point, which is your fresh water. As we've said, we've got your waste, your wastewater drain down, your boiler drain down point, and then your final drain down point is your fresh water, which is just located in the floor here by the kitchen area. To operate this and to flush out, you need to unscrew this, and then located in here you'll have a plug. You need to pull that plug out, and that'll empty and drain the entire system. You need to always do this when you are travelling off site, because you don't want to be travelling with water due to payload and distribution. So do bear that in mind. And as I say, when you are travelling off site, you can leave this open, because it means that the plug, that is, it means that all the water will drain outside the vat. But of course, always keep this lid on when in operation. You've then got this little latch and hatch, which will then just slot into there to make the floor even. Before finishing up, coming to your windows. On all your windows you have got these pull tabs here. If you pull these levers like so, that will open the window. You can then push the window out like so. On each side of the window you've got these black little knobs. Simply screw them and tighten them into place to push the window out and let it stay in there. Unscrew them to then bring it back, and you will notice that you can put your window on venting like so, which will just leave a little air gap just to allow a bit of wind and air through. Again, as I mentioned earlier, you need to make sure that these are all checked and all closed when travelling, because you don't want any wind coming through here which could potentially rip the window off. So make sure you pull and that fastens in like so. On all your windows as well, you have got your fly screens and blackout blinds here, which can then just pull up like so. So that concludes the handover video on the Bailey Autograph 792F. I hope you enjoyed.